Abandoned at funeral, son reveals incredible transformation 18 years later. He touches the world. Jason stood outside the weathered church, the biting midwinter wind rushing past him like a knife, sharp and relentless. With every gust he felt the sting of abandonment deeper in his chest. Inside, the townsfolk whispered, their collective sorrow hanging heavy in the air as they mourned his father, a man respected in their small Midwestern town. But what hurt the most wasn't the absence of his father, it was the crushing absence of his mother, who had left them both long before this day. At that moment Jason felt like a ghost, watching the world move around him while he was trapped in a spectral silence, heart shattered. He was just a boy, barely on the cusp of adolescence, yet he felt the weight of 1,000 adult emotions swirling inside him. With peeling paint and darkened doorways, his neighborhood seemed a world away. Yet it was there that he found some small glimmers of hope. Neighbors who lent a hand like Mrs. Thompson, who always offered him an extra slice of pie from her kitchen, or Mr. Jensen, who taught him to fix a bike. They filled the void, showing him that even in hardship, compassion thrived. Yet, as the years rolled by, the label of the boy without a father began to press down on him like a heavy blanket. Glances filled with pity, whispered judgments, and the gnawing feeling of prejudice chased him through school. But Jason fueled his determination with every late night and every book he consumed, a relentless work ethic whispering, "You can rise above this." His heart raced at the thought of leaving his neighborhood behind for the prestigious university he dreamed of. Just like that, his high school graduation became a launching pad, and he fought fiercely to prove that he was more than his circumstances. With eager eyes and fast hands, he stepped on campus, only to be greeted by stark contrasts that sliced through his confidence. Here everything sparkled with privilege. The seamless laughter around him sometimes felt like a foreign language. But like a flicker of light in a darkened room, he found solace in kindred spirits, students wrestling their own inner battles. Connecting with them filled his heart, and in those quiet moments between classes, he leaned into the idea that lifting others might also lift himself. And then, just when it seemed he was carving a path forward, he received a call to return home. The unresolved past beckoned. A mix of fear and determination surged through him as he readied himself for a heartbreaking reunion with his mother. Could he face her? The unhealed wounds wrapped tightly around him, waiting to bleed fresh agony into his heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he approached familiar faces, old memories surged, bringing both warmth and anguish. Jason felt the world around him shift, the longing for reconciliation battling his lifelong defense against betrayal. In that fragile moment, he stood at a crossroads, poised to reshape not only his journey but the entire neighborhood that had shaped him. With all his heart, he wanted to inspire them to believe, even when darkness loomed. He wasn't just that abandoned boy anymore. He was their beacon of hope in a storm. But as he opened that door, the weight of choices tinged with the essence of forgiveness settled deep in his soul. Would the boy from the past emerge, or would he choose to forge a new beginning? The air hung thick with anticipation, a question slipping into silence. What path would he tread next, and how would it change him? Would it light the way for those still trapped in shadows? As Jason stood at the entrance, the door swung open before him. Inside, the living room felt both familiar and foreign. Shades of childhood haunted every corner. The small house had not changed, but he had. The walls, once a canvas for his youthful creativity, now seemed to close in like whispers of forgotten promises. His mother sat on the worn-out couch, her fingers twisting a fraying lace handkerchief. The sight of her sent a ripple of mixed emotions through him. She was both a stranger and the woman from his past. The tension hung heavy, wrapping around them like fog, blurring the lines of their shared history. Jason, her voice trembled, a fragile thread ready to snap. He inhaled sharply, meeting her gaze that flickered with regret and hope. "Why did you leave?" The question clawed its way out, raw and unfiltered. Her eyes pooled with tears, each drop an echo of the grief they had both carried. "I was young, scared," she whispered. I thought you would be better off without me. Better off. The words fell from his lips like stones. A part of him yearned for the boyhood connection, but another shouted its resistance. You left when I needed you the most. I had to grow up without a mother, learn everything the hard way. She flinched as if he had physically struck her. Silence engulfed the room again, the tension turning palpable. He could almost feel the breaths they each took, heavy with unspoken pain. Jason took a step forward, not wanting to retreat from this moment, even though every instinct urged him to run. I made mistakes, she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. But I want to be here now. I want to understand you. To be part of your life again. Jason felt a strange flicker of hope amid the storm of hurt. Could it be possible? After all these years, could they rebuild whatever had been lost? He thought of the neighbors who had stood by him, the mentors who had filled the void. Hadn't they shown him that love could manifest in unexpected forms? Do you know what I've achieved? His heart raced and pride began to creep in. I went to college. I graduated. I'm working on something amazing that I believe can inspire others. He met her gaze, daring her to see the man he had become. I want to help our neighborhood. I want to bring people together just like those who helped me. The corners of her mouth twitched, and he could see a glimpse of the mother he had always wished for. That's incredible, Jason. I'm so proud of you. Proud. The word felt foreign, like a dream he never thought he could live. It doesn't erase what happened. He heard the tremor in her voice as she replied, no, it doesn't. It can't. But maybe we can find a way to rebuild trust? His mind raced. Trust. The word tasted bitter, mixing pain with potential. Could he really give her that chance? With the ache in his heart throbbing with uncertainty, Jason weighed his options. Maybe, he breathed. But we have a long way to go. Just then, a soft knock on the door interrupted their fragile moment. It was Mrs. Thompson, holding a pie proudly as if it were a trophy. I brought pie. Who's ready for a slice? Jason couldn't help but chuckle through his turmoil, the spontaneity offering a brief relief. He turned to his mother, who looked equally amused. Would these simple moments help bridge the gap? Or were they just distractions from the storm brewing inside? As he opened the door wider, a wave of air, crisp and filled with possibility, swept in. What happened next? Could laughter seep through the cracks of their past? Or would it echo into further silence? The choices lay ahead, waiting patiently, like shadows ready to dance in the light. Mrs. Thompson bustled into the living room, her bright demeanor slicing through the tension like a hot knife through butter. You two look like you're in the middle of something serious. But I promise you this pie could heal any rift, she winked, placing the warm dish on the coffee table. Jason stole a glance at his mother. Her momentary frown gave way to a small smile. And just like that, the atmosphere lightened a little. Maybe it wasn't all doom and gloom. Mrs. Thompson, you always know how to brighten a room, he said, genuine gratitude infusing his words. Gotta keep my favorite neighbors happy. She laughed before cutting them both a generous slice of pie. The rich aroma filled the air, wrapping around them like a warm blanket, offering comfort in the middle of unease as Jason took a bite. The sweetness reminded him of simpler days, kitchen table conversations, and laughter that echoed off the walls. For a moment he almost forgot the heaviness in his heart. Almost. Delicious, he exclaimed, hoping the joy of flavors could drown out the bitterness lurking beneath the surface. What's the secret ingredient? Mrs. Thompson leaned in, sharing a conspiratorial whisper that made them both chuckle. Love and a sprinkle of patience. Takes a lot of that in the kitchen and in life, doesn't it? It was as if her words were a soft nudge, pushing against the barriers Jason had built. He wanted to believe her. Jason, you're so much like her. His mother finally ventured, her voice cracking in the middle of the compliment. All of your neighbors have spoken about you. How you're bringing people together, something I never could do. He watched her face as it fell, the hope dimming like a sunset swallowed by night. That wasn't your fault. You had your reasons, he responded gently, giving her a glimpse of the forgiveness he felt wrestling within him. But I should have known better. A mother's instinct, she began, but he interrupted her, wanting to keep this fragile moment alive. Mom, it's okay. We can talk about the past, but I want to concentrate on who we are now. His heart thundered in his chest. Actually, I've been working on a community project I'd love for you to be part of. Really? She looked at him with wide eyes, a mixture of surprise and a glimmer of excitement peeking through the cracks of her pain. Yeah, I want to build a community center somewhere people can come together, share experiences, build a family, maybe even reconnect, he said, trying to keep his own emotions in check. Her fingers froze around the pie plate. You want me to help? He nodded, feeling the weight of hope settling over him like the warm pie aroma. You have experience. You know what community means, even if it's from afar. We can use those skills. But her eyes shimmered with more than a hint of doubt. Do you really think I'm capable of contributing after all this time? More than capable, he reassured, his voice steady. We're not starting from scratch. We have history, and your presence can help heal that. Families don't have to be perfect to grow after all. For a moment, her gaze fell to the floor, and Jason held his breath. Would she accept this chance? Would she step back into his life, even just partially? I want to believe that, she finally whispered, vulnerability creeping back into her tone. But what if I disappoint you again? Jason reached out, placing his hand over hers. Then we'll navigate it together. Just like in life, we'll figure it out as we go. Before she could respond, a sudden commotion erupted outside. Shouts and laughter bounced off the walls, dragging their attention momentarily from their emotional fervor. Sounds like the neighborhood kids are up to something, Mrs. Thompson noted, her gaze shifting toward the window. Without realizing it, Jason's thoughts drifted. New opportunities, laughter, collaboration, it all felt possible now. Could tomorrow bring them another step closer? He let go of her hand, the warmth lingering as he moved to look outside. He peered through the glass, hands pressed against the cool surface, curiosity blooming within him. He could see the community gathering, families setting up for what looked like a festival. Shall we go out? He asked, glancing back to his mother. Would this be a moment to boost their new connection? What if we just stay here? She said softly, a shadow still lingering in her voice. What if I need more time to adjust? But Jason felt the spark of potential igniting, a feeling of urgency rising within him. Tomorrow might be too late, Mom. What if all of this becomes a missed chance? He opened the door, the sounds from outside washing over him like a wave. Could this be the moment they dared to step forward together? Each heartbeat echoed louder, propelling them toward the unknown. But could stepping outside only uncover deeper wounds from the past? What awaited them in the world beyond the threshold? As Jason stepped into the twilight, the vibrant sounds of laughter and music enveloped him like a long-lost embrace. The air was thick with the scent of barbecues, mingling with the sweet notes of cotton candy. As children raced past him, their joyful shouts igniting a spark in his chest. He had never noticed how alive the evening could be, and it pulled him further away from the confines of guilt lingering in their living room. Come on, he called back to his mother, urging her to join him, even as his heart raced with possibilities and fears. He looked back and found her standing by the door, hesitant, still trapped in shadows. Jason, she began, her voice trembling slightly. I really don't know if I'm ready for this. He stepped toward her, his own uncertainty mirrored in her eyes. You won't be alone. Look how many people are out there. Everyone has their past. Maybe they're all searching for moments like this just as we are. For a brief moment, Jason caught a glimpse of the vibrant woman he remembered from his childhood, full of life, energy, and laughter. Could he coax that version of her back into the world? Together, Mom, he said softly, as if that simple word could stitch the frayed edges of their relationship. She glanced out at the gathering crowd, and her shoulders seemed to lift just a fraction. Okay, she finally whispered, a flicker of resolve igniting in her voice. The moment she stepped over the threshold, it felt like a collective intake of breath within the universe. Together, they wandered through the cluster of neighbors and friends, Jason feeling her fingers entwined with his for support. It felt new yet familiar, like reaching for a hesitant dream. Laughter bubbled up around them, weaving a tapestry of conversations that spoke more than words, stories, connections, and shared history. Mrs. Thompson found them almost immediately, beaming as she handed them both cups of lemonade. Just in time for the pie-eating contest. You two should enter. The twinkle in her eye sparked immediate laughter from Jason. Not a chance. He laughed, glancing over at his mother, whose brow furrowed playfully at the thought. The warmth of community washed over them, and for the first time in too long, Jason felt threads of reconnection solidifying between himself and his mother. They shared sly smiles, exchanged playful jabs at the contest, and even found themselves gravitating towards a table where neighbors sat flipping through old photographs, nostalgia shining bright. An older man waved them over. "Come here. You've got to see this." He showed them the faded image of a summer barbecue from years ago, where even Jason's mother appeared full of life, holding a spatula with a cheeky grin. "Look at your mom," Jason exclaimed, laughter bubbling forth. She was such a rebel. His mother's face flushed with warmth, laughter mingling with regret, but it was a movement forward. The evening stretched on, and more memories emerged with every shared story. They finally gravitated toward the stage, where the community band began playing. A staccato beat vibrated through the ground, and Jason felt the urge to dance. With one hopeful glance at his mother, he asked, "Want to join me?" Her hesitation melted away as she waved him off. "I'm not much of a dancer." But he wasn't giving up. "Neither am I. Let us just have fun." He pulled her into the throng, laughter blooming again as they swayed clumsily, two souls finding rhythm amidst their discord. The moment felt electric, like a fragile bridge was being built back into their lives. Yet deep inside, Jason ached. There were still wounds that hadn't healed. Could this be enough to patch everything? Was it worth the risk of reopening old scars? As the music poured over them, enveloping the neighborhood in a moment of joy, Jason caught a glimpse of his mother, her laughter mingling with others, her eyes sparkling for the first time in years. There was beauty in the shared chaos of life unfolding around them, but uncertainty still loomed in Jason's heart. What would tomorrow bring? Would this bloom of hope last, or would the shadows creep in again? The night stretched on, filled with laughter, music, and the promise of togetherness. But what if the next day brought a storm instead of sunshine? The music swelled, lifting Jason higher as he twirled his mother around, their bodies moving awkwardly but joyously, a moment suspended between the past and a hopeful future. Faces flickered by, smiles shared, and encouragements exchanged, a safety net, woven from familiarity and love. Yet beneath that joyful facade, Jason clung to reminders of shadows that never fully receded. He glanced at his mother, lost in a smile that brightened the dusk. "See, not so terrible, right?" He shouted over the music. She looked back at him, her eyes gleaming. "Okay, maybe a little fun." As they swayed, Jason felt a bittersweet pang in his chest. Each laugh, each glimpse of happiness came tinged with the weight of what had been lost, lingering like smoke that wouldn't clear. He could almost feel the scars of the past surfacing, nudging at him uninvited. "Are you all right?" His mother's voice broke through his thoughts. "Yeah, just a lot to take in," he replied quickly, avoiding the deeper truth swirling inside. Would it ever truly be okay? Nearby, a young couple burst into laughter as they spilled lemonade on each other. Two children zipped past, racing with their arms outstretched like airplanes, soaring through the joy of the evening. The simple innocence tugged at Jason. When was the last time they laughed like that, free and without burden? His mother caught his gaze and squeezed his hand, as if reading his mind. "You know, life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it," she said softly, her voice barely rising above the music. "Yeah," he murmured, understanding the weight of her words. But how could they break the cycle? How could they transcend the shadows that loomed over them? Just as he opened his mouth to respond, a sudden hush fell over the crowd. To the edge of the gathering, an older woman stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special celebration tonight. It's time to recognize some extraordinary people in our community." Curiosity rippled through the crowd as cheers erupted. Jason turned, following his mother's gaze. Who could it be? He wondered, excitement building. The woman continued, "Tonight we honor those who've stepped up in times of need, whose hearts have opened to help others heal." Jason shifted uncomfortably. The phrase hit close to home. His thoughts drifted to the times he had just turned away, the discomfort gnawing at his own hidden truths. He shivered against the cool breeze as memories tugged at him like the distant echoes of old arguments. When the crowd let out a roar of applause, Jason returned his focus to the woman, who continued to unveil stories of courage and love. Each increasingly familiar, yet foreign moment tugged at him deeper. This wasn't just another event. It was a spotlight on resilience, pushing Jason to reconsider his own approach to healing. Finally, she named a familiar face among the recipients. We want to recognize someone who faced immense challenges and turn them into strength, someone who has walked a hard road but never let it defeat her. Jason's chest tightened. Could it be? When the name slipped from her lips, his mother gasped beside him. That's me. I'm Mom. He interrupted, feeling panic rush through him. You can't. Not here. Not like this. But as her name echoed, people began to stand and cheer, cheers of jubilation and solidarity. Jason stood frozen, hope mingling with dread. The shadows were growing darker, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this moment could both uplift and unravel them. A catalyst for everything they had been avoiding. She took a step forward, crowd urging her on. He felt the weight of their past press against him like an approaching storm. Would the praise lift her forever? Or would this reveal a truth too heavy for their fragile bond? He inhaled sharply and reached for her, wrestling with the fear that gripped his heart. What if he started, but the words died on his lips? Would it matter? With his mother standing tall, vibrant against the backdrop of the audience, Jason had to make a choice. To stand by or to reach deeper, risking it all for the chance to heal together. The spotlight was on her, but his heart raced for what lay ahead. Would courage seal the cracks, or open new wounds? As her laughter echoed through the cheers, he wondered. Was he truly ready for the storm that was brewing? Jason felt the applause wash over him like a wave, but he stood frozen, caught between fear and pride. His mother, glowing under the spotlight, took hesitant steps forward, each one heavier with unspoken history. The crowd, roaring in support, faded out, leaving behind the stark reality of this moment and what it meant for them. The moment she reached the front, she turned to the audience, the mirth in her eyes mingling with something deeper, vulnerability mixed with strength. Jason wished he could close his eyes, shut out the crowd, but he couldn't. He was bound to this moment like a train on a track with no way to turn back. Their eyes locked amidst the chaos, and as the cheers rang out, he saw a flicker of doubt cross her face. Was she really ready for this? Or was it all just a beautiful illusion? His heart raced. How long would it take for her to uncover the truth beneath the applause? Thank you. I didn't expect this, she stammered, her voice cracking slightly. The crowd urged her on, clapping, cheering louder, brimming with affection. Yet Jason noticed how she swallowed hard, a shadow of fear darting across her smile. He stepped forward, squeezing through the throng. Mom! The cry slipped from his lips as he fought to reach her, desperation clawing at him. Wait! But the crowd's energy pressed him back. A man near the front raised his arms, waving her to speak, oblivious to Jason's turmoil. Mom, you don't have to do this, Jason shouted, his voice rising above the rising tide of support. The applause faltered, heads turned, surprise etched on their faces. In that moment, uncertainty threaded through the atmosphere like a sudden gust of wind. His mother blinked, caught off guard. Jason, she whispered, her expression shifting from joy to concern. His feet stilled, and he took a deep breath, aware that all eyes were on them. This isn't just about you. It's about us, everything we've been through. What are you saying? She replied, the question hanging in the air, heavy and raw. This was the moment he could feel in his bones. Memories swirled around him, shouting, tears, a silence that felt unbearable. Their history wrapped around them, choking out their joy. The past isn't gone, Mom. You can't celebrate what you've lost without facing it. What if this is just the beginning of your real story? The silence stretched longer than he intended, tension palpable as the crowd shifted uncomfortably. But Jason didn't care. This was their chance, wasn't it? Slowly she took a breath, her gaze searching his. Then help me, she said finally, her voice softer but resolute. Help us. A flicker of hope danced in Jason's chest. Okay, let us face it together. In the quiet that followed, a new energy crackled in the air around them. People began to murmur, some nodding in understanding. Recognition sparked in the crowd, as if they too were grappling with their scars, their own battles hidden beneath the surface. As his mother shifted on her feet, the audience leaned in, ready to hear the truth behind her smile. Jason felt a change, a shift that lightened the weight on his shoulders. Maybe this was the moment they needed, a turning point for both of them. But just then, a voice called out from the back, cutting through the room like a knife. What are you hiding? The question rang out, hurt and biting, charging the atmosphere with tension anew. Feeling his heart race again, Jason shot a glance back. There was no turning away now. They were right there on the edge. Would they dive deeper into the darkness, or pull back? His mother hesitated, eyes wide, grappling with the challenge ahead. Would they emerge stronger, or would this open old wounds that could put them under once and for all? As Jason stood at that precipice, he knew they had to decide together. There was no retreating, not now. The real journey was just beginning. Jason's pulse thundered in his ears, drowning out the murmurs and whispers swirling around them. The raw weight of that voice from the back echoed in his mind. What are you hiding? The question unraveled the tentative truce they had built, exposing the fractures beneath the surface. His mother's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape, a lifeline among the sea of faces that once brought her joy. He could see anxiety etching lines on her face, the beacons of her past resurfacing. I am not hiding anything, she stammered, though Jason could sense the tremor in her voice. Mom, we can't just gloss over this, he urged, stepping closer, trying to shield her from the gathering storm swirling in the crowd. You should share what really happened. We need to face the past together. The audience fell into a tense silence, every gaze locked onto them like a spotlight. Fear rushed through him, the sheer enormity of the moment crashing on his shoulders. Yet beneath that fear, a flicker of resolve ignited. This could be their breakthrough, but only if they let it. I lost everything, his mother whispered, suddenly unraveling. I thought I could bury it, hide it behind this facade of success. Her voice caught, fighting against tears. But it was never just about me. It was about us and how I thought I failed you. A murmur rippled through the audience. Jason felt eyes softening, a wave of empathy replacing scrutiny. He stepped closer to her, fingers brushing against her arm, a grounding force. You didn't fail me, Mom. You did what you thought was best. But carrying that alone is too heavy. As she looked into his eyes, he saw the first glimmer of true vulnerability, no longer the bravely painted smile, but a woman stripped of her armor, revealing scars that had long been hidden. But I'm scared, Jason. What if they don't understand? What if it's too painful? His heart pounded in his chest, and he took a deep breath. You have to let it out. You don't have to shoulder this burden alone anymore. It's okay to be scared. Just look at everyone out there. They want to support you, not judge. They want to hear your story. Each word felt like a small piece bridging the distance between their past and the hope of what could be. Silence loomed large, but he could feel the audience shifting, processing, connecting. Slowly she nodded, her lips trembling slightly. You're right. Maybe it's time. Jason's heart soared, and with courage born from the truth that had been unspoken for so long, she took a deep breath and began. I was a single mother when I lost your father, and it shattered me. I buried myself in work, thinking I could escape the pain. I thought I could move forward without acknowledging that loss, but it always lingered. Her voice grew stronger as she continued, the initial quivers fading like shadows in the light. The crowd listened, wrapped in absorbing her truth, each word uncorking the bottled-up emotions they had long kept at bay. But Jason's stomach twisted with anticipation. What about everything else? Their strained relationship? The arguments? Would they dare plunge deeper into those rocky waters? As his mother continued, tears began to flow, not just hers, but in little pockets around the room. And somewhere in between her disturbing past and heartfelt revelations, he sensed a turning of tides. Transformation was possible, and perhaps it was rippling through more than just them. Suddenly, a woman in the back stood up, her hand raised. Thank you for sharing, but what about the rest? The years of silence? Jason's breath hitched. Would they dare to confront everything? Would they truly unveil their wounds? As he locked eyes with his mother, Jason felt the trembling beneath the surface again, a profound decision that weighed heavy between them. The air crackled with anticipation, and he knew they were standing on the brink, with only one choice ahead. Would they push forward, revealing the painful truths of their shared history? Or would they step back, leaving questions lingering in the air? The moment of truth loomed closer, and with it, the risk of an even deeper connection or devastating fallout. His mother hesitated, darkness flashing in her eyes. Jason could see her processing the question, the weight of all those years pressing down on her. The air felt electric, with the hum of every heartbeat in the room becoming a crescendo of shared anticipation. Years of silence. She whispered, words barely escaping her lips. It wasn't just the loss of your father. There was so much more. The anger, the blame, the loneliness. I thought it would protect you if I just pretended. The audience sat in rapt silence, a collective breath held. Jason felt the tension shift, like the room itself was leaning in, ready to catch the pieces that might scatter if she dropped them too fast. After he died, I was lost. I turned my grief into a fortress. I thought that being strong meant keeping it all in, keeping you safe from the baggage. Her voice broke and Jason saw tears slip down her cheeks. They shimmered under the dim lights, marking moments of truth being carved into the air. But it only drove a wedge between us. My pain became our silence. Jason moved for her, not fully grasping what he would say, but feeling the urge to bridge that emotional gap. Mom, I know that now. I see it. I understand. You didn't have the tools you needed. A whisper of comfort sparked in the crowd. People nodded, eyes glistening as they relived their own stories of silence and grief. I wanted to protect you, she said, her gaze drifting as if searching the past for some lost answer. But I only pushed you away. Every missed birthday, every angry word between us. I thought it was better to shield you from feeling the pain I felt. But instead it just isolated us. The woman from the back spoke again, her voice that of a soft challenge. But did you think it would last forever? Did you not believe that one day you would have to confront it? Jason's heart raced, and he turned back to look at his mother. The face he knew so well now reflected a whirlwind of emotions: shame, sorrow, defiance. What do you want to do now? He asked, leaning in. This can't end with just words. We can't just go back to pretending. She was silent for a moment, her eyes searching his like a ship lost at sea looking for land. I want to break the silence, she finally declared, her voice steadying. I want to acknowledge every tear we've shed, every argument. I want to let it all out. I need to, and you deserve it. The room buzzed with an unexpected energy, a tide rising as more people chimed in with their stories of sorrow and survival, giving testimony to similar struggles. Families began to relate, pain spilling into understanding, isolation shifting into collective support. Me too, another voice rang out, followed by another. Let us share our burdens. They were hungry to release their own truths, breaking their own walls as they saw the dam cracking before them. But Jason felt a jolt of apprehension. Mom, if we go deeper, we might unearth wounds we've buried. Are we really ready for that? Together we can be. I need you with me, she breathed, her voice calm yet filled with resolve. I can't face this alone any longer. Jason could feel the collective heartbeat of the room synchronizing with their own. Would they indeed plunge into those wounds, uncover the unspoken truths once and for all? Suddenly, a shocking thought struck him. What about the secrets you never shared? The anger from your father's death? What about our arguments before everything went wrong? Her face paled, a brief flicker of fear striking her expression, but amidst that, he saw determination. Then we'll face them too. I will share everything. His heart raced once more, dancing between the worry and the excitement of what lay ahead. Would this moment bring them healing, or would it fracture them even further? As Jason glanced at his mother, he became aware that this was just the beginning. What awaited them next could either soothe their aching hearts, or send them spiraling through the darkest passages of their past. The question hung heavy in the air, vibrant with the promise of connection and the threat of rupture. What scars would they unearth, and would they find the strength to reclaim their bond? Jason felt the weight of his mother's gaze. A fragile connection stretched taut between them. The room seemed to pulse, each heartbeat echoing the urgency of the moment. He took a deep breath, his mind racing through the memories, distant conversations, missed connections, and the blinding silence that had grown like a vine around their lives. Okay, he said, his voice firm but gentle. Let us start from the beginning then. You've carried those feelings for so long. I want to understand, Mom, but I need you to let me in. His mother nodded slowly, tears still shimmering on her lashes. She held his gaze, finding her courage in the depths of his eyes. It started with anger. Anger at myself for not being stronger. Anger at your father for leaving us. For dying before I could say everything I wanted to say. The crowd leaned in further, as if she were a lighthouse guiding them through storms of their own. Jason didn't just hear her words. He felt them in his bones. There was something healing about this raw honesty. A balm for wounds he hadn't fully realized were still open. It was unbearable, Jason. I felt like I was drowning in grief, she continued, her voice trembling. I couldn't let you see that. I thought I was being a good mother by hiding it, but instead I painted walls between us. Those walls became our home. I didn't know how to break them down. A hush fell over the audience. There was a kindred spirit in her pain, an understanding glimmering amongst the shared histories. Every person there felt a whisper of their own past in her confessions, each relating to a moment when they too had stifled their own truths. Mom, if we're going to break this silence, we need to own it, Jason said earnestly. What about the feelings we shoved aside? The times I needed you but I didn't know how to ask? Her face crumpled slightly. A mix of regret and resolve tangled in her expression. Those moments were the hardest for me, Jason. I knew you were hurting, but I was so lost in my own grief. I didn't know how to reach out for you. A ripple of empathy spread through the room. The audience shared their knowing looks, each one of them feeling the fissures of their own silences. You're not alone now, a voice called out, stronger than the last. We're all here. Let us break this together. Jason felt a wave of gratitude wash over him as he realized how deeply this space had shifted. They were building something powerful. Let us do it then, he said, his voice steady. Mom, can we talk about the nights we fought? The days you pushed me away? Her shoulders drew back, as if straightening against an invisible weight. Yes, we can. I want to talk about those nights. And I want you to know how sorry I am. I was scared, but that's no excuse for hurting you. As she spoke, Jason felt hope swell within him. Each confession was like a release, a thread unraveling the tapestry of their pain. They were unearthing the hurt but also the love buried within. I felt so lost for so long, she said, a shiver of vulnerability in her voice. It's taken me years to understand that my silence didn't protect you. It hurt us both. I'm ready to change that. The crowd erupted into soft applause, lifting the heaviness in the air. Other voices joined, giving testimony to their own fractures, their own healing processes, a chorus of hearts awakening to the power of connection. But as Jason swept his eyes over the faces around him, he felt another current ripple through him. It was strange but exhilarating. An urge to understand how had they all navigated through their dark times? What made you speak up? He asked the woman who had encouraged them to share. It was a simple question, yet it hung in the air, drawing curious silence. Her face brightened, and for a moment, he could see her own struggles reflected in her eyes. I learned that sharing is the first step towards healing. When I spoke my truth, it became lighter to carry. That's why we need to do this together. Jason's heart raced, knowing that they were on the cusp of a significant moment. Would this lead them toward true healing? Would it inspire others to confront their silence? Or could it potentially open old wounds beyond repair? The air was thick with tension and anticipation. The room felt alive, vibrating with promise. Jason took one last look at his mother's tear-streaked face, and in that shared glance, he felt a connection stronger than both their fears. What had begun as a dialogue of pain now had the potential to transform into a powerful movement. They were standing at the edge of something monumental. But as he took the plunge, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the surface of their revelations, hidden threats lurked ready to surface. What truths would emerge and what would they expose? Jason and his mother stood at the very threshold of everything. The crowd had shifted from curiosity to eagerness, a community on the brink of a shared transformation. They were no longer merely observers. They were part of the narrative Jason and his mother had begun to weave together. The bond they had once strained now glimmered with the potential to mend. Let us not stop here, Jason said, his voice steady despite the thunderous beat of his heart. With every word, he felt the weight of expectation settle over them, the air crackling with possibility. The crowd leaned in, eyes fixed on their connection. This is our chance to hold the mirror up to both our scars and our triumphs. Our stories can touch others, they can impact lives. His mother nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks, each drop a testament to her resolve. Together we will break the cycle of silence. I want to own my failure and my strength. She took a deep breath, the tremors of fear still present but simmering beneath a new layer of courage. In that moment, Jason felt the crowd surge with energy, a ripple of shared stories igniting within them. Who here knows the feeling of being trapped in silence? He called out, his voice rising, infusing the air with urgency. Hands shot up, faces illuminated with recognition, and some spoke out, stories of loss, regret, and transformation spilling forth like notes in a symphony. Jason glanced at his mother, who was now listening with wide eyes, hope mingling with disbelief. There, amidst the stories, the shared burdens woven together, his heart soared. Every ounce of pain, every moment we've hidden, is an invitation to heal. Let us use this as our stepping stone. Not just for us but for everyone in this room. The collective energy pulsed, alive with the burgeoning spirit of community. A lone tear rolled down his mother's cheek, but this time, it was a tear of empowerment. Let us embrace those emotions. Tackle them head-on, Jason encouraged. Your fear, Mom, every ounce of sorrow, they're valid. But it's time to step into the light and let the healing begin. The crowd erupted into applause, an echo of understanding and solidarity. People stood, fists raised, voices ringing with shared acceptance. Jason felt emboldened, inching closer to the edge of the stage with his mother beside him. Let us unite our stories and pave the way for healing. For families caught in darkness. He shouted, passion igniting in every word. Yes, someone shouted from the back, and a wave of agreement rippled through the crowd. Let us move beyond our pasts and create something meaningful. Jason's mother stood larger than life now, a woman renewed. I was lost for so long, but here I feel the weight of forgiveness. She turned to the crowd, emotion spilling from her voice as she connected with the audience who had shown up for both her and Jason. Let us rise above our struggles together. Let us embrace our truth and give ourselves permission to live fully. As the crowd cheered, Jason felt the old shadows recede, even if just for a moment. He could see the flicker of hope igniting in others' faces. Perhaps this could be their dawn. Before long, laughter and storytelling filled the air, a joyful tapestry of shared experiences surfacing as people began to exchange their own truths. Small circles formed, warmth radiating as barriers crumbled. Jason watched as his mother effortlessly engaged with others, her laughter ringing true in a way he had almost forgotten. In those moments he understood, they were not only rewriting their own narrative but helping others reclaim theirs as well. The night drifted deeper into possibility, and one by one, stories poured out into the gathering. Each shared moment became a stepping stone toward healing, conversations flowing and bubbling like a sparkling spring. In that little town, under the canvas of stars and shared laughter, Jason grasped the magnitude of transformation. He turned to his mother, her smile radiant, her spirit unbroken. She was no longer that distant figure cloaked in sorrow. She was alive in glowing courage, blossoming in every word they spoke. And then, as the final moments of the night unfurled like a tapestry of connection, he held her hand, and together they stepped into the unknown, ready to chart a new path forward. We did it, he whispered. With hearts open and souls entwined, they stepped onto a new journey, ready to inspire others to rise, to find strength in vulnerability, heart in connections, and hope in shared stories. As the last echoes of laughter faded into the night, they stood firm, knowing they could face whatever lay ahead together. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this emotionally charged ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support for a channel that brings you the raw, heartfelt journeys of real life.